He's played U.S. Marshals, military men, cold-blooded villains, and no-nonsense lawmen. But off-screen, Tommy Lee Jones might be even more intimidating. Respected, feared, uncompromising. While fans know him for his powerful performances in Icy Glare, Hollywood insiders tell a different story. One filled with tension, confrontation, and a list of co-stars who swore they'd never work with him again. We're not talking rumors or tabloid fluff. These are verified feuds, some so intense they nearly derailed entire productions. From explosive set standoffs to unforgettable one-liners delivered like daggers, Tommy Lee Jones has left a trail of scorched bridges behind the camera. Today we're diving into 6 of the most shocking conflicts from his career. And by the end, you'll never see this Oscar-winning legend the same way again. Let's get into it. In the mid-90s, Jim Carrey was Hollywood's golden boy. With Ace Ventura, The Mask, and Dumb and Dumber all smashing box office records back-to-back, he was the comedy king, unstoppable, unpredictable, and adored by fans for his manic energy. So when he was cast as the Riddler in Batman Forever, it was seen as a perfect match. But not everyone was laughing. Enter Tommy Lee Jones as Two-Face, a role he approached with the same laser-focused seriousness that earned him an Oscar. While the public expected fireworks on screen, the real explosion happened off it. Their working relationship wasn't just tense, it was non-existent. Jones reportedly couldn't stand Carrey's wild improvisation, considering it a complete mockery of the craft. To Jones, acting was discipline. To Carrey, it was chaos. That's a recipe for war. The moment it all unraveled, a dinner in a quiet restaurant. Carrey approached Jones, probably just trying to be friendly. Instead, Jones stood up, looked him dead in the eye, and delivered a line that's now infamous in Hollywood lore. "I cannot sanction your buffoonery." Then he walked out, leaving Carrey and the room stunned. That wasn't just gossip. Carrey himself confirmed it in multiple interviews, and even the film's director, Joel Schumacher, backed it up. Schumacher once said, "You can't steal scenes from Jim Carrey, but Tommy sure tried." Jones never denied what happened. In fact, when asked years later, he brushed it off with a cold, "I was in a bad mood. No apology, no regret." The result? Batman Forever hit theaters, but the two stars never shared the screen again. It wasn't just a clash of styles, it was a collision of worlds, and neither man was willing to back down. But Jim wasn't the only one who felt Jones's intensity firsthand. By 1998, Tommy Lee Jones was riding high off his Oscar win for The Fugitive. So when the spin-off U.S. Marshals was greenlit, he returned as Marshal Samuel Gerard, the role that made him a household name. But there was one big change. No Harrison Ford. This time, it was Wesley Snipes stepping in as the fugitive on the run. And what started as an exciting matchup quickly turned into a behind-the-scenes standoff no one expected. Snipes was at the top of his game, known for doing his own stunts, bringing raw physicality, and delivering action with style. But Jones? He was a technician, sharp, controlled, a craftsman obsessed with getting every line, every detail just right. From day one, the two couldn't see eye to eye. Script changes? Snipes had suggestions. Jones shut them down. Action scenes? Snipes wanted intensity and speed. Jones wanted structure and precision. According to crew members, Jones would openly mock Snipes behind his back, calling him the martial arts expert with a sarcastic bite. The tension was obvious, thick enough to cut with a knife. Director Stuart Baird later admitted, "It was oil and water." The two actors barely spoke. When they did, it was usually through assistants or the director himself. No shouting matches, just a cold, calculated freeze-out that made filming feel like a diplomatic mission in Antarctica. Despite the friction, U.S. Marshals did fine at the box office, but it never lived up to the magic of The Fugitive. There was no sequel, no awards buzz, no real chemistry, just two stars locked in a silent war, delivering great performances separately. And while that set was cold, the next one burned with creative tension. Jim Carrey wasn't the only Batman Forever cast member who clashed with Tommy Lee Jones. In fact, the tension went straight to the top. Director Joel Schumacher himself. And this time, It wasn't about acting styles. It was about the entire vision of the film. Coming off an Oscar win for The Fugitive, Jones signed on to Batman Forever, expecting a dark, gritty crime drama, something closer to the brooding tone of Tim Burton's previous Batman entries. What he got instead was neon lights, wild costumes, and a comic book circus. Schumacher leaned fully into camp, and Jones hated every second of it. According to production designer Barbara Ling, Jones would walk onto set, take one look at the environment, and just shake his head. "This isn't what I signed up for," he'd mutter, loud enough for everyone to hear. The tipping point? Scenes where Two-Face had to go full cartoon villain. Jones pushed back hard, complaining that the role was being reduced to a joke and stripped of its complexity. It got to the point where Schumacher had to convince him, sometimes beg him, to finish scenes. In public, Jones barely acknowledged the film. In one interview, he flatly called it childish and changed the subject. When asked years later if he'd ever work with Schumacher again, he didn't hesitate. "I doubt it." Schumacher tried to stay diplomatic, calling Jones an extraordinary actor, but hinted at the struggle, saying, "Maybe a psychologically complex villain wasn't the right fit for the tone we were going for." Translation? Jones was on a completely different wavelength and refused to compromise. The two never worked together again. In fact, Jones has dodged nearly every retrospective about the movie, an unusually silent rejection from a man who rarely holds back. But what happens when Jones's co-star isn't funny or flashy, just equally intense? If Tommy Lee Jones had no patience for Jim Carrey's comedy or Joel Schumacher's vision, things didn't get any smoother with Batman himself. Val Kilmer, known for his intense method acting, stepped into the cape for Batman Forever. And it didn't take long before the tension with Jones reached boiling point. On paper, the pairing should have worked. Two seasoned actors, both committed to their craft. But on set, it was more like a Cold War. Kilmer was immersive, often staying in character and exploring emotional layers take after take. Jones, ever the professional technician, showed up with every line memorized and expected the same from everyone else. The clash was inevitable. Crew members described it perfectly. Like two gunfighters in different corners of the saloon. Kilmer thought Jones was phoning it in. Jones thought Kilmer was overacting for a comic book movie. During one particularly tense scene where Batman confronts Two-Face, Kilmer asked for multiple retakes to find the right emotional pitch. Jones wasn't having it. Loud enough for the room to hear, he snapped, "I've made 7 films this year. I don't have time for this nonsense." First Assistant Director William M. Elvin confirmed the growing tension, saying, "Tommy expects precision. Val likes to explore." They were never going to blend. The result? Off-camera silence, on-camera tension, and a partnership that completely evaporated the moment filming wrapped. The fallout was so deep that in Kilmer's 2020 memoir, I'm Your Huckleberry, he writes extensively about the film, but never mentions Tommy Lee Jones. Not once. It's like he erased him from the story entirely. When Jones was asked about Kilmer during press interviews, his reply was ice cold. "I worked with Batman. I didn't work with Mr. Kilmer." No elaboration, no warmth. Just a verbal wall that said everything without saying much at all. And if things were icy with Val, wait until you hear what happened with Sally Field. By the time Lincoln began production in 2012, Tommy Lee Jones and Sally Field were both Hollywood royalty. Multiple Oscars between them, decades of experience, and reputations for powerhouse performances. On paper, this was a dream pairing. But behind the scenes, it was friction from day one. Field, cast as Mary Todd Lincoln, came to set emotionally raw and deeply immersed in character. She's always been a method actor, living the role, feeling every beat, and staying in character even between takes. Jones, playing abolitionist Thaddeus Stevens, couldn't have been more different. He approached acting like math, exact, disciplined, and emotionally detached. And he didn't hide his irritation when Field blurred the lines between role and reality. During one pivotal scene, Field remained in character between takes, pacing, agitated, and still calling Jones Mr. Stevens. Jones had enough. With that signature deadpan delivery, he told her, "Sally, the camera's not rolling. You can stop now." It wasn't loud. It wasn't cruel, but the coldness in his voice hit harder than a shout. Field later acknowledged the tension in a 2016 interview, saying, "Tommy isn't warm and fuzzy. Let's just say we had very different approaches, and sometimes that created friction." But she also admitted something else. The fire it created on screen was real. Their scenes crackled with intensity, becoming some of the film's most powerful moments. Jones, ever the enigma, stayed tight-lipped during the promotional tour. When asked about Field, he simply said, "Sally is very dedicated to her process. Polite on the surface. But if you watch the interview, the chill in his tone was unmistakable. And yet, despite everything, Lincoln was a critical triumph." Jones earned another Oscar nomination, and Field's performance was universally praised. The friction may have burned behind the scenes, but in front of the camera, it turned to gold. But the most dangerous clash, that happened on a battleship, and it nearly turned violent. If Tommy Lee Jones has ever come close to a full-on on-set meltdown, it was with Steven Seagal. In 1992, Under Siege brought the two together. Jones as a calculating villain, Seagal as the unstoppable Navy cook-turned-action hero. But behind the camera, it was a power struggle between two alpha personalities who couldn't stand each other. The problem started early. Jones, fresh off an Oscar nomination for JFK, took the role seriously. He wanted depth, believability, a villain with gravitas. Seagal, meanwhile, was at the peak of his action movie dominance and had a reputation for being difficult. He insisted his characters never lose fights, never look weak, and never, under any circumstances, get hit too hard. That didn't sit well with Jones. According to stunt coordinators, Seagal would literally count how many punches he took in each scene, demanding the final fight show him as the clear winner. Jones was stunned. "I didn't realize I was making a movie with someone who's never allowed to get hit," he reportedly told the director. Not joking, dead serious. One day during a fight choreography session, Seagal tried to control the scene. Jones fired back. "Loud, director. I'm an actor, not a prop for you to look good against." The room went dead silent. Nobody moved. Even the stunt team, guys used to chaos, froze. Crew members later said the tension on set was unbearable. One recalled a moment when both actors were in the weapons room at the same time, and everyone held their breath, unsure if fists, or something worse, were about to fly. "It was like locking two wild predators in a cage," a producer said. "You only let them out when the camera was rolling." They never filmed interviews together. They were never scheduled for press side by side. And during the release tour, Jones dodged every question about Seagal. Years later, when finally cornered, he offered this savage one-liner. "There are actors, and there are those who think they are actors. No names, no context, just venom." These weren't just Hollywood feuds. They were battles for control, and Jones never backed down. Tommy Lee Jones doesn't play the Hollywood game. He never has. While most stars polish their public image, smooth over conflicts, and fake smiles for the camera, Jones takes a different approach. Brutal honesty, zero tolerance for nonsense, and an unshakable commitment to his craft. Across these 6 legendary clashes, from comedic dynamos to action titans and Oscar-winning peers, one thing is clear. If you didn't take the work seriously, Jones had no time for you, and he wasn't quiet about it. But here's the twist. These feuds didn't sink his career. They defined it. Directors still call, studios still cast him, audiences still show up, because underneath the gruff demeanor and confrontational nature is a performer who delivers every single time. For Jones, being difficult isn't a flaw, it's the cost of excellence. So here's the question. Is that kind of intensity worth the tension it brings? Should greatness ever have to compromise? Let us know what you think in the comments. Was Tommy Lee Jones right to protect his craft at all costs? Or should he have learned to play nice in a town built on teamwork? If you enjoyed this behind-the-scenes deep dive into one of Hollywood's most fearsome icons, be sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. We've got more explosive, untold stories about your favorite stars coming soon. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.